Hello and welcome to the next Lukozer retro game review video. Yes, I know I said that I wasn't going to be doing any more Elite videos, but this really is the last one because, well, there aren't any more versions for me to cover. I didn't play the Spectrum version very much, and I only played the BBC Micro version I think twice. So yeah, here we are then with Elite for the Commodore Amiga, which was released by Firebird in 1988, very late 88, and this conversion was by some developer called Mr.Micro. I say that name just makes me think El Cheapo crap. It's not a particularly good name. So as you can see, the most obvious difference between this and all of the 8-bit versions is that the ships are no longer just wireframe vectors. They are now filled in. They now look like solid objects. And for the most part, that is the difference. I mean, there are some subtle changes. There's like an additional feature. Well, it's a feature that wasn't in the Commodore 64 version. Well, I think it might have been in the BBC Micro version. Don't quote me on that, but I'll explain that when we get to it. So aside from the filled-in vector graphics, almost all of the other changes are just down to presentation. So, I mean, for example, on the start here, you can see it's going through various ships. It actually goes through every ship that's in the game, but we don't even see them. So here we are then on the status page. So as always, we start in lathe, and our legal status is clean, rating of harmless, fuel of 7 light years, cash 100 credits, and our ship is the Cobra Mark III, the ship that you have throughout the game, and we have a single front pulse laser and 3 missiles. Now you can also see that it is using the mouse, which, I mean, you can only use that when you're onto these like screens. When you're actually in flight, you are using the regular controls, just like the 8-bit versions. So, but I mean, everything's here. You have the galaxy chart, and then the local chart. It actually zooms in like so. The planet detail, the difference there is quite considerable. So we now have a graphical representation of the main population, and you know, the various data points are presented a bit differently. It still tells you all the same stuff in the 8-bit version though. Then the market prices, it uses icons to display each of the commodities, but doesn't really help as far as telling you how much they have. There's the bar next to it, but without a sort of key alongside the bar there, it's really not all that fucking helpful. You have to select the item to see how much they actually have, which is a bit of a pain in the arse, to be honest. Then there is your ship inventory, but well, as you can see, we don't have anything at the moment. Then there are the options. Well, there's disk options if you want to save or load your game. Find, basically you just type in the name of the planet and it will find it if it's in that chart. Home resets the cursor to the planet that you are docked at, which of course is Lave. And then options, there are some game options. You can change the cursor type to number 2 there or number 1 there. Personally I think that type 1's fucking horrible. I usually use number 2. This is a game that I did have back in the day. Although I bought it fairly late, although the game was released in late 88, I didn't get this until 91, and I got it fairly cheap. I got it at a sale price, so I only paid a tenner for it, so I paid less for this version than I did for the Commodore 64 version. And actually I'll tell a lie, because I didn't pay for the Commodore 64 version at all. I got it for Christmas, but yes, anyway, this version was cheaper than the Commodore 64 version when I bought it. Initially it was full price. So anyway, so the options, I can never remember what damping is. I think it's instant, when you're moving, as soon as you let go of the key it instantly stops. I think that's it, although that could be auto center. So I think damping, if you let go of the control, it will keep going in the direction you've got it going in. So keep the damping on, so that yeah, once you let go of the control, the thing stops moving in that direction, because otherwise it's too difficult to control. Effects, I'm not sure what they are. Auto center I've already explained. Reverse dive climb I think is pretty self-explanatory. Docking computer, if you have it on slow, which is the default, then it goes through the manoeuvring of the actual docking, a la the Commodore 64 and 128 versions. If you have it on fast, then it's like the Spectre and the BBC version, where as soon as you enter the safety zone, you activate your docking computer and straight away it puts you in the docking sequence and you're on board. Saves an awful lot of time. Then the docking sequence, actually I'll show you that, so I won't turn that off, but yeah, it's just a little bit of fancy stuff when you first launch and when you first dock, but you soon get sick of it and very quickly turn it off when you're playing this game regularly, which I did back in the day. I think I got to dangerous on here. I mean, it was always dangerous I got to, whether it was this on the Commodore 64 or Amiga or with Frontier. I got to dangerous on that. I might have got to deadly, but no, I don't think so. Anyway, right, so I'm going to start by buying up some cargo. So I want 16 tons. So that's all of the food bought. Go to equip. I could buy the 4th missile, but I'm not going to use it, so I won't. What else have we got here? It's obviously fuel, which I don't need because I'm already full. Missiles, large cargo bay, ECM system. That is, I think it's a pulse laser and the beam laser, and then I'm not sure what that one is either. It's telling us in the background, but oh, fuel scoop, that's it. Okay, it doesn't matter anyway, I can't fucking afford it. So right, let's go to the local chart. Well, Zayance was where I went in the Commodore 128 version, so let's head there again, check out the information. Average industrial, government is corporate state, tech level 12. The tech level is nice and high, so they'll have plenty of upgrades if only I could afford them. So it's a human colonial population. It all looks pretty good. Right, let's launch and get underway. So this is the docking sequence. As you can see, there are 2 ships in this docking bay with us. But yeah, as you can see, it just makes launching really long-winded. So we're finally out. I'm going to look behind. So we still have all the views. So let's hyperspace to Zeonce. And hope I have better luck here than I have in any of my warm-up goes. Because Zeonce has proven to be a fucking pain in the arse, frankly. Right, so the controls are a little bit sensitive. Oh, fucking hell, didn't take long for the first enemy ship to arrive. Now this is the feature that is not in the Commodore 64 version. So we activate the ID, slow down a bit, get the ship in our sights, more a starboat, so it tells us what the ship is. So I think that is in the BBC Micro version. But yeah, it's not in the Commodore 64 version, that's for sure. There we go, so we've taken that cunt out. Moray starboats are quite small, so yeah, we got 7 credits for that. Now there are other ships in the area, but they are not attacking us, so we can well, we can't engage the fucking jump. Okay, now we might be able to, now that it's gone out of range. Let's try it. Yeah, there we go. Okay, so that's as close to the planet as we can get. So now we just keep heading towards it until we enter the safety zone. And then we'll see where the station is. Now the pink target there is something like an asteroid. Well, at least I think it is. Let's have a look. Yeah, and we can destroy them and get a whole half credit bounty for it. Now the yellow ship on the radar there is, well, it's not attacking us, so we don't really want to be going after it. So we're now in the safety zone. There is the space station. Unfortunately, with the Amiga version, it takes a fucking long time to actually get to the docking station from the moment you enter the safety zone. The safety zone is an awful lot larger in this version than in any of the 8-bit versions. So while we are making our way to the docking station, let's start the review, starting with the graphics. I am not impressed with the head-up display and the cockpit in the slightest. I think the Commodore 64 and 128 versions look better. You know, everything I think is a bit too big, and it just looks very crudely done. It's not very refined, and no, I'm not impressed. As far as the actual in-game graphics, okay, yes, it's a good thing that the ships are finally solid, not just wireframes, but the gaudy colours don't help. They're not all that great. And also, a lot of the time, when you are firing against an enemy ship, what you're actually firing at is a grey circle, as you can see here. By the time, well, certainly with some targets, by the time they actually can be somewhat recognised. They are very close to you, and they are able to inflict a significant amount of damage on you. I'm also anything but impressed with the graphics on your weapons. Why have they got to, you know, just fire little bloody whatever you want to call them right from the side? What was wrong with the way it was done in every other version? You know, the solid lines from the bottom coming up to the crosshairs. That just looked a lot better. I don't like the way they look in this. The enemy shots, I think, look atrocious. Basically, it looks like they're firing red spherical objects at you. Again, the way it was done in the 8-bit versions looked a lot better. Then there is the audio. The audio makes it sound like it's a straight Atari ST port, and considering this game came out in late 88, it could be a straight Atari ST port. But yeah, not too impressed with those. The rendition of the Blue Danube is, whoa, fucking hell, I'm a lot closer than I thought I was. Yeah, the rendition of the Blue Danube is okay, but you know, not fantastic. Alright, that's better. Actually, we're quite nicely centralised here. I think I might be going a bit too fast here. I think I'm also a bit too far to one side, but let's have a look. Oh, there we go. So again, when you dock, you see the doors opening, and it puts you down into the docking bay where there are some other ships already here. Which again is just slowing the game down, I think. So anyway, right, let's sell our food. It does calculate how much you'll make, so I will make 102.4 credits by selling those. So let's do that. There we go. So we go to the equip. First of all, we need fuel. Fuel is always quite cheap actually, which is handy. I could buy the missile. You can see here this place has everything, including these retro rockets, which are not in any other version. What they will do is, well, pretty much what the name suggests. They send you backwards. They fire you backwards at a hell of a rate. But it's just another way of escaping an enemy ship that's attacking you. But of course it does send you the wrong way from the planet, or unless you have the planet behind you, then you can use that and boost yourself towards it at quite a rate. I can't remember if they're one-use deals or not, so yeah, I'm not sure of those. Something else that is new in the game that I forgot to mention, there is a new ship, the Wolf Mark II, which actually looks quite good, and they are quite tough, so yeah, you want to watch out for those. So anyway, here we are then at Zeonce, which was, I'm trying to remember, is it average industrial corporate state? Okay, let's have a look at Isinor. So harmless slimy frogs. So that's what the harmless slimy frogs supposedly look like. So this is poor agricultural. So if I was to sell them something like machinery, they might be interested in that. I can't buy a lot of it though. I can only buy 2. But I can't remember what else there is to sell to fuck it. Amount to buy up to 36 tons. I can't afford 36 tons, I can afford 2. So cash is now down to 46.2. Well, let's go into the options, and now let's have the docking sequence off so that you can see the difference. Right, well, let's hope that Isinora will pay more than 50 for my machinery. I've only got 2 tons of it, so I'm not going to make a killing from this one, that's for sure. Here we go. And you can see it goes straight into the actual main launch thing, which saves a hell of a lot of time. So off we go. So continuing then with the review of the graphics, I don't like the hyperspace sequence here. I think it looks a bit shit, if you be perfectly frank. Same with the sound effects as well, they sound pretty shit. And the gameplay, well, I mean, it's Elite, but with some very sensitive controls. The problem is, okay, Elite was an extremely popular game when it was released in '84. But 4 years had passed since then. I mean, alright, because it was so popular, I guess it was inevitable that people were going to want a Amiga version of it. But yes, it was rather inevitable that when the Amiga version came along, because we had seen that 8-bit computers were capable of doing a game like Elite, we wanted and expected rather more from the 16-bit version than we got. Yes, the graphics are filled in, they're not, you know, wireframe vectors, so they do look like solid objects. And yes, okay, the presentation has been sort of overhauled a bit, but yeah, we'd seen it all before. It was basically a new release, only it was a game that was 4 years old. And alright, yes, I did play it an awful lot back in the day, but that was because, say, I bought this in 1991. I didn't have a Commodore 64 anymore. So, although I wanted to carry on playing Elite, I basically played this version because it was the only version I could play. I've never really been a fan of it. It's never grabbed me in the same way that the 8-bit versions did. And the 8-bit versions, just, you know, not just me, I think this applies to just about everybody who was a fan of the original game. It blew me away because I just never thought that an 8-bit computer could do what was happening in front of us. You know, the depth of the game, the sheer size and scale of it. I didn't think it was possible on you know, a Commodore 64. With an Amiga, we, you know, obviously long since been used to the fact that the Amiga was capable of far more than the Commodore 64 was. So I don't think I was, you know, asking too much or expecting too much by wanting the Amiga version of Elite to be more than just... Fucking hell, I keep fucking up this approach to the docking station here. Well, I wanted the Amiga version of Elite to be more than just, you know, filled in graphics. Not quite central, but we're getting there. And I mean, things like, you know, the way you fire. I've just realised I haven't really shown much in the way of combat yet. One of the reasons I chose to go to Seance is because in my 2 warm-up goes, not only have I had a lot of combat in Seance, I've been destroyed every time I've gone there. The second time I went there were 2 fucking Thargoids, and I didn't stand a fucking chance. Anyway, so yeah, I mean, the combat I just think looks terrible because you've got your shots, you know, firing in from the side, and there's just these tiny little fucking firing away, and then the enemy shots are these red fucking circles. I just think it looks shit. Okay, well, I am going to make profit, so cash is now up to 167.5, but I need to buy fuel, so I'm down to 153. Price on food is very, very low. How much of it have they got? They've got 20 tons, so I could fill my cargo hold. But where am I going to go? Do one more. Let's have a look. Right, what's Ziesel? I have a feeling it's in red because it's a bit dodgy. Oh no, mainly in Dale Feudal. Yeah, okay, it isn't so good. So anyway, that's what the felines look like. I am in no way equipped to do any good in a feudal system. What about this one? Multi-government, tech level 4. Oh, it's an agricultural one, so that's no good to me. What about, is that Kritiri? Yeah. Rich industrial. That doesn't sound bad. Right, okay, so this will be where we go. This is my last jump. Yeah, you can use the pop-up thing there, but so there you go. Right, so I've still got plenty of cash, but I've also got a full cargo hold, so it doesn't really matter to me. I could still buy gemstones because, yeah, they're measured in grams, not tons. Alright, so, okay. Last launch. So what do I rate the Amiga version then? Well, as you can probably tell by now, I'm not a vast fan of it. I did play it a lot back in the day, but that was because I had to, because I didn't have the Commodore 64 anymore. But although I do enjoy playing Elite, I didn't really enjoy playing this one. It just, aside from the filled in vector graphics on the other ships, I thought it looked shit, to be frank. I was not impressed at all. Right, what's this? Where the fuck's it gone? There it is. Adder. Well, they're not too difficult. Again, so you can't see what it looks like. Now I can. Well, just. I can see a sort of green line, but I blew it up, and there you just saw the shots. Tiny little fucking red circles. But yeah, that's the enemy shots. They look shite. Fucking hell, another enemy. Right, what have we got this time? Oh, fucking hell. Right, so Wolf Mark 2. This is one of the new ships. These things are tough. You can see he's quickly working his way through my fucking energy banks. He took my shields out in no time. This could be game over, because, say, the Wolf is quite tough. I realise I'm not doing myself too many favours, and now a fucking Thargoid has just turned up, so this is definitely game over. That grey target that you see is a Thargoid ship. Let's see if I can last long enough to show you it. There it is. So I definitely do not have a fucking chance. Let's see if I can use a missile on the cunt. Well, he hasn't used his ECMs yet. Now he has. So energy low, there you go. So I have a Thargoid and a Wolf Mark 2 out here trying to fucking blow the fuck out of me. And they will succeed, I haven't got a fucking prayer. There we go, game over. So that, I'd rather rub it in with that game over sequence there, but there you go. So that is Elite for the Amiga. I give it 6 out of 10. That's as good as it gets. Yeah, it's just not as good as the 8-bit versions. Well, I mean, the problem, of course, with the Commodore 64 version is it was so slow. I mean, this certainly doesn't have that problem. But, I mean, the BBC Micro version is better, as far as I can remember. The Commodore 128 version is better. Even the Commodore Plus 4 version, I think that impressed me more than this one. So, yeah, not all that great, really. So, there you go, Elite for the Commodore Amiga, 6 out of 10. That's about the sum of it. So, that brings this review to an end, and we'll see you at the next one.